It is Sunday, January 8th of 2017. I'm in front of the Unitarian Church in Montreal. I'm in the middle of my alternative spiritual practice of protesting against Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy. And I just gone through a couple of monologues and another half-hour segment of video, in quotation marks, tape ran out, and so we're just starting a new segment of video here. I think we're going to be wrapping this up soonish. I've already been out for over an hour because we've gotten through two half-hour segments of video. Well, maybe not, because in one case, one of the segments got cut off, I think because the battery died because of cold weather, so some of the recording was prematurely ended, but nonetheless, I've been out here for approximately an hour, maybe as much as half an hour longer. I haven't looked at my timepiece yet to check the actual time, but it's probably close to 11 o'clock right now. If I had to guess, I'd say it's between quarter to 11, 11. Let's check. Let's find out how good my guessing of the time is. We'll pull out the old cell phone here and have a look. Oh, it's not on. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. 10:53. Right on the money. Right on the money. What did I say? Did I say between quarter to 11 and 11 o'clock? And it's 10:53. So anyhow, good day, sir. So that's it. Yeah, I've been here since before 9:30. So, pretty much an hour and a half. And it's cold. It's not like terrible cold, but it's not warm, I can tell you that. One of my batteries died as a result of the cold. So I think I've had a brisk Sunday constitutional this morning. I like to use the term constitutional when discussing my alternative spiritual practice of protesting Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy, because the word constitutional has two meanings. One being a brisk walk. That's one of the meanings of the word constitutional. It's a physical exercise that consists of a not leisurely walk. And actually, I have to admit, being a bit loose with the term here, because my walk in front of the Unitarian Church in Montreal displaying picket signs is pretty leisurely, actually. You can see I'm not walking fast, basically just slowly strolling along back and forth here. But nonetheless, I think for obvious reasons, within the context of a peaceful public protest that upholds my constitutionally guaranteed civil right and freedom to engage in the free expression of a peaceful public protest, there's that other meaning of the word constitutional. I am exercising, oh look, another double meaning, exercising. But I am exercising my constitutionally guaranteed civil right and freedom to engage in peaceful public protest, and at the same time I'm having a not brisk but fairly lengthy walk. It's not a long walk in terms of the distance of one pace, but when it's sort of multiplied, and on top of the fact that I'm these days generally walking to the protest, because I don't live too far away these days. I used to arrive by bus and metro, but these days I just walk because it's maybe a 20-minute to half-hour walk. And I figure, why not? It's depending on the weather. I mean, if it's awful weather, I'm just going to take the bus and metro. But But if it's, you know, otherwise a nice day like today, you know, see a few little flakes of snow coming down here. You can see the sun's out. As I said, it's cold, but it's not like outrageously cold, but it's cold enough to feel it. Cold enough to have cold fingers under my gloves. Cold enough to feel a little cool around the chest area under my not winter parka. Right now I just got a couple of layers under a you know, windbreaker type jacket. Probably should have a proper winter parka on today, but we'll get around to that. Anyhow, yeah, we're blathering on here, but we're pretty well winding up this protest. I usually wrap it up at around 11 o'clock, and we've had a pretty good protest today. I unfortunately lost some of the monologue when the battery died. I don't know what exactly was recorded and what was lost. There was a incident where one of the people dropping a person off at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, when they were leaving, they twirled their finger around their head and indicated that I'm crazy, which is a unfortunately all too common response of willfully ignorant people to my protest. I'm actually protesting some quite serious issues, and everything that I'm protesting against is well documented. There's really no question that the injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy that I'm protesting against actually occur within the Unitarian Universalist religious community. My protest began as a protest against the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry that I had been subjected to at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and which I quickly became aware other people had been subjected to in other Unitarian Universalist churches. But as a result of filing a clergy misconduct complaint against Reverend Ray Drennan, who was the minister of the Unitarian Church of Montreal at the time, and who was intolerant and abusive and bigoted and so on. As a result of filing a clergy misconduct complaint against Reverend Ray Drennan for what was non-sexual clergy misconduct, you know, emotional and psychological abuse, slander and libel. That's, well, not libel because it wasn't in writing, so, but basically slanderous attacks on me, verbal and psychological abuse, abuse of power, abuse of authority. I quickly became aware that the Unitarian Universalist religious community had a little bit of a clergy sexual misconduct problem that wasn't handled very well at all. Essentially what happened is you know, I became in contact with some advocates for victims of clergy misconduct, and they informed me, well, you know, if you think you've got problems, you know, as a result of Reverend Ray Drennan labeling you psychotic and slandering your interreligious event as a cult and so on, well, guess what? Much worse clergy sexual misconduct has occurred, and the Unitarian Universalist Association hasn't handled that very well. So when I became aware of the Unitarian Universalist Association's negligent and, quite frankly, disgustingly hypocritical dismissal and rejection of clergy misconduct complaints about serious clergy sexual misconduct, well, I added that to my protest. This is quite early on. My protest in terms of the local issues began in May of 1998, and I'd say by certainly by mid 1999. Certainly by within a year or so, my picket signs, at least one of them alluded to the sexual misconduct that I'd become aware of. My unsafe sect picket sign, which we can see a recent version of here. Oh, battery's just about to go, so we're going to wrap it up very soon. So unsafe sect. When I first made this picket sign, it actually had a question mark. It was posed as a somewhat rhetorical question. It's no longer a question. There is no question that in some ways Unitarian Universalism is in fact an unsafe sect. It's a sect. There's no question it's a sect. Look up the definition of the word sect in a dictionary and you'll see that Unitarian Universalism fits that description. And it is not safe in various ways. I'm not saying it's completely unsafe, but it is unsafe in terms of clergy misconduct and how clergy misconduct is dealt with by the Unitarian Universalist Association. And it's unsafe in various other ways. There's various other unsafe aspects of Unitarian Universalism, not the least of them being the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry of far too many Unitarian Universalists, of the atheist persuasion. So that's it. We're going to wrap this up today. I got this blinking dead battery thing. We're coming up to 12 minutes of recording. So I think we're done for January, the 8th of the 8th of January, excuse me, 2017. And definitely, I think the cold's starting to get to me. I'm also a little bit sleep deprived. So I think I've done quite well considering how little sleep I've had the last night or two. I was basically up for almost all of last night doing some astrophotography, and I only got about an hour and a half sleep. So yeah, I think considering how little sleep I've had, not only last night but in the last 3 or 4 nights, I think I'm doing pretty well on the sanity side. But yeah, I got a few little memory blanks and stuff, temporarily ones, nothing of any serious nature. So yeah, we're wrapping up the protest, bagging the picket signs, go have ourselves a nice coffee, and that will be it. So Happy New Year, everybody. And I think because it is indeed the 175th anniversary of the Unitarian Church of Montreal this year, I think I will be more active than less active on the protest front during this 175th anniversary of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and coming up for the 19th, or is it the 20th? No, it's coming up for the 19th anniversary of my protest outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So let's see, 19 into 175, what is that? Let's say more than 10% of the Unitarian Church of Montreal's total history, I've been protesting in front of this outrageously hypocritical so-called Unitarian Church of Montreal, which certainly is not Unitarian in the traditional sense of Unitarian theology, which proclaims the unity of God, because a good number of Montreal Unitarians are atheists and agnostics who don't believe in God at all. It's not really a church. In fact, Reverend Ray Drennan tried to get rid of the word church, wanted to change it to, I think, community or congregation. That didn't work out because church members, or in quotation marks, church members, didn't want to acknowledge the truth. Even the Montreal bits, well, it's in NDG now, Notre Dame de Grace, suburb of Montreal. So like there's almost nothing true up there. I mean, yeah, it's sort of vaguely true, but it's misleading. I think it'd be fair to say it's misleading for the Unitarian Church of Montreal to call it Unitarian, to call it a church. And well, yeah, I think technically NDG is now, in Montreal. It's certainly on Montreal line, so that's we won't make a big issue of that. But I do remember that when Reverend Ray Drennan started his campaign to change the name of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, to get rid of the word church and to replace it with community or congregation or some such thing. He said it was false advertising to call the Unitarian Church of Montreal a church. And I found it ironic that the Queen's Counsel lawyer, Kenneth Howard QC, wrote in the church newsletter a response to that, pointing out that it was also false advertising to call the Unitarian Church of Montreal Unitarian, because it really isn't Unitarian anymore in the sense of believing in the unity of God, because a considerable number, if not the vast majority of the members of the Unitarian Church of Montreal don't believe in God at all. So yeah, on that note, we're wrapping up this second protest in 2017. Second protest